Hello, I'm an attorney with South Carolina Legal Services. This video is to provide information on orders of protections in South Carolina. It will cover basic information about how to qualify for an order of protection and relief that can be provided under an order of protection. This video is not intended to provide legal advice. It is advised that you obtain legal counsel to represent you in an order of protection hearing if you are able. If you are not, the process to obtain an order of protection is structured for you to go forward without assistance of an attorney. An order of protection is an order that is granted by a judge finding that you have been abused by another person and ordering the abuser to stay away from you. The order of protection can be granted anywhere from 6 months to 1 year and can be extended upon showing of good cause. Orders of protection can only be granted against a spouse, a former spouse, parties who have a child in common, or a romantic partner with whom you have lived in the past or are currently living. In order for an order of protection to be granted, you must have been physically harmed or threatened with physical abuse by the person that you're seeking the order of protection against. If the order of protection is based on a threat, it must be a credible threat, meaning the person must have the ability to carry out the threat immediately or within a short period of time. If a person, for example, threatens to harm you and that person, when making that threat, is hundreds of miles away, it would not be considered a credible threat or an imminent threat because he or she would not have the ability to carry it out quickly. An order of protection can also be granted if you are the victim of sexual abuse or if a minor child has been sexually abused in your home. Abuse for purposes of an order of protection does not include verbal abuse, social media abuse, stalking, or financial abuse. It must be physical abuse in order for the order of protection to be granted or a threat to cause bodily harm. To apply for an order of protection as soon as possible after an incident of abuse occurs. If you wait a long time after the incident happens, it makes it less likely that a family court judge or magistrate judge will grant the order of protection. It can make it appear that it's not necessary or needed. Now, the process to apply for an order of protection includes completion of a petition for the order of protection and other forms. South Carolina Legal Services has prepared an automated interview that you can use, which provides all of the forms that are required to apply for the order of protection and explains in detail what you need to do with each of those forms and the process. That interview can be found at www.lawhelp.org/SC. A link will be provided with this video. And again, it provides detailed instructions on the process for applying for the order of protection. Upon completion of that interview, you're able to print all of the required forms and file them with the appropriate court. There's also a link to a self-help order of protection interview with instructions included. Can be granted under an order of protection includes an order for the abuser to stay away from you. It will prohibit the person from coming to your home, to your place of employment, or to other places that you frequent. It will prohibit the person from having contact with you or communicating with you in any way. That includes by text messaging, by phone calls, by coming around you. And it also restricts that person from having other people get in contact with you on his or her behalf. Now, an order of protection can also provide other and additional relief. And it's up to the judge whether or not to grant that additional relief. That relief can include temporary custody, visitation, possession of a home. The court can order one party, one spouse, to pay temporary and financial support to the other spouse who has been abused. The court can address child support, can order one party to not destroy or sell or take liens against property that's owned between spouses, not to damage property. The order of protection also can enable law enforcement to remove firearms that are owned by the abuser and not have that person have those firearms in his or her possession. The court can also require the abuser to pay the attorney's fees if you are represented by counsel during the order of protection hearing. And lastly, the court can also address protection of a family pet and order the abuser to not harm or endanger the family pet. A court hearing will be held to determine whether the order of protection should be granted to you. You and the abuser are required to attend the hearing. If the abuser does not appear for the hearing will still go forward as long as he or she has been properly served notice of the petition for the order of protection. Links are included for a video to help prepare you for the order of protection hearing itself, and it provides valuable tips that can assist you during that hearing. If an order of protection is granted and violated by the abuser, he or she can be immediately arrested. A contempt hearing can also be requested. If the person is found guilty of violating the order of protection, he or she can be sentenced up to a year in jail, made to pay a fine, and or perform community service. It's a good idea to always keep a copy of any order of protection that has been granted with you, and also to keep a copy of it on your phone so that you can show it to the police if you need to notify them of a violation of the order by the abuser. If you or someone you know needs help obtaining an order of protection, you can apply for free legal representation by contacting South Carolina Legal Services at 1-888-346-5592. You can also seek support services through the South Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, whose website is www.sccadvasa.org, which provides links to the various domestic violence shelters across the state. You can receive services such as temporary shelter, assistance with applying for orders of protections, and counseling through these shelters.